Thank you all for being here tonight. This is really, really exciting to have this opportunity to speak with Elicser about his work, especially surrounded by this beautiful show, which I think is an incredible representation of where you're at right now. So congratulations on it. It's amazing. Congratulations to me for curating it too. Thank you. I feel incredibly privileged to have had the opportunity to do this. But people are here because they want to hear you talk. So, so I do have some questions for you just to start the conversation. And then after he talks a little bit and we have a little bit of back and forth, we'll open it up to all of you. Claudia, can you keep time for me, please? Yes, thank you. So one of the things that I really, really like about this exhibition is how weirdly intimate it feels in two different ways. One is that I'm used to seeing your work out on the street. So to see it in a gallery and to see it address the subject matter feels like this beautiful invitation into your interior world in a way. The other thing too is it's almost like a glimpse of how your mind works too. You know, how your memory functions. And so, I don't know, tell us a story. Tell us a childhood memory.
Well, all these pieces are childhood memories, I guess I'm trying to tell you. Well, it's basically childhood stories that I've been given through the years. And I guess I'm trying to do something with them and, move them forward. I guess I was with Wild Seed. It's a really good residency I was with like 2 years ago, and they were talking about reimagining our own history. So if we go and we look in the library right now, we could find all these history of these colonizers, but where are our history, So they just sort of gave me the license to make it up. You can make up your history when you don't have a history, and that's okay. Reimagining is all right. So a lot of these, so from that, from my last show, A Run, I was just talking about like great kings and queens of the West Indies, and just pushing the envelope of thinking about it. Just basically just like one idea of thinking that back then there would be a woman that was captain, that actually sailed the 7 seas and was a pirate, and you know what I mean? But nobody talks about that kind of stuff. So reimagining, get a little bit of information and then like re-sculpt it into this whole other idea, because I'm an artist and I could do that, damn it. Anyway, so that was like way out. So now I'm coming into like into myself or into like my family to find all these different ideas, different stories, and branch them out into public, or have them more public than be, because they're such good stories, and just talking about them in a way other people could relate. And I think that's what artists, a mission that we, our duty kind of thing, is to talk about the times, and to have, and while we're talking about the times, we are doing it in a relatable way. So the story could come from us, and the audience could relate to it as well, right? So, yeah, a lot of these stories are my mom's stories, my dad's stories. But at the same time, when you look at them, you build your own story too, of like, your childhood, or coming from the West Indies, or your take on architecture, or, if you had a goat once, because my mom had a goat as a pet, and come to find out, Nehal had a goat as a pet.
R.I.P. Sonny.
R.I.P. Sonny, exactly. R.I.P. Jackie. I think Jackie is not alive anymore, but yeah. So is that good enough?
That is lovely. Thank you.
Okay.
So on to my next question. There's a quote that I really like by Thomas King where he says, like it's from a CBC Massey lecture, where he says the truth about stories is that's all we are, right? And so I'm curious about how did the stories that you're representing here inform who you are, and what does painting them do to who you are too?
Wow. That's a good one. Yeah, I think if you guys look back at my stuff, you knew my stuff from back in the day. It has this sense of like graffiti playfulness in a way. Sometimes it's only, back then it was only related to graph heads, you know, only related to that kind of feeling. So now I'm trying to like just open it up in a way. I mean, you know, talk about these things that I thought I couldn't talk about. Turns out that I can talk about them in my work. I don't have to like tuck them so deep, you know. Sometimes I feel that like I used to tuck the work really, tuck the idea really so far into the piece that you couldn't, you know what I mean? No, that's what it was about, kind of thing. I guess I was afraid to just, you know, or in a sense, thinking that you can't be so literal with the stuff, you know. So then, I guess 2019, 2020, 2021, you know, there's a mind shift in like the whole world. It was so crazy. But anyway, it gave me.
About Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, right. It just gave me the courage to kind of do what I always want to do. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm just seeing that in little spurts, little stories, little documentaries, people talking about it, and it's just kind of like, yeah, why weren't we doing that before? Like, why didn't we feel the courage to do that before? So yeah, so I guess a lot of the stuff after that was, yeah, me talking about stuff that I had neglected to talk about for a really long time, you know? To talk about like stuff from home and, you know, stuff that I think the people that I hung around with sometimes they wouldn't really relate to, like, you know, dashing and planting and, as I was saying before, you know, those kind of things, because when we were rolling, I never really heard it from them, you know, so.
I remember your paintings from that time too. Like there's a lot of, I think all of us were trying to make sense of the world and what was going on, and we put that into our work. And so there's a lot of processing what it meant to not just make it to the next day, but somehow to enjoy it, to be grateful, to know that tomorrow's not promised because it wasn't given to other people. And so I remember that there was a lot of process. Like one of the pieces that I loved was I Wish My Brother George Was Here. After George Floyd's murder, and then the one you did after Ahmaud Arbery, and then to see that, to see this particular kind of urgency now enter your work, and these feel like an insistence on being remembered, you know, of those stories, like being in the record. So.
Yeah, no, all this is because of G.C.H. Thomas, which was my grandfather on my mother's side, and he was a force boy. He was a force in the family, you know. He wrote a book called Ruler in Hairuna. If you guys ever come across it or find it, beautiful, beautiful thing. I still have yet to finish it, but it's nice. But yeah, points in it. It's basically just talking about, like, you know, politics in the West Indies, and because that's a lot what his life was. I think he was like an ambassador to, I would say ambassadors to the West Indies, because my mom traveled a lot, Anguilla, St. Lucia, Montserrat, and then kind of landed in St. Vincent in kind of, you know, the older years of my grandfather. But yeah, all the stories that come out of that place, it's just insane. So he would accept dignitaries to the community, to the Caribbean, right? So and my mom was here for the opening, and I was trying to get everybody to kind of swarm her and get all these, you know, stories out of her, and like, because when she's ready, she could talk, you know. So,
I mean, can we just point out that that's your mom as a little girl? That's your mom as a little girl too.
right,
So.
yeah, these little stories. This one's called Joe, and you know how she got her name Joe because her name's Jacinta. So when she would go fishing, she would hang out with this old man down by the river named Joe. So she would come back to the house, and the whole family would tease her. It'd be like, "Oh, Joe, you've been hanging out with Joe," you know. So I guess the name stuck until like so long. So that's how she got the name. So my whole life, I'm just imagining this little girl walking back and forth with the stick over her thing and the bucket of like, you know, her catch. You know what I mean? These ideas, and searching around to find all these other visuals and stories when it was right there, you know, this like little like nice, I'm still like in the process of trying to illustrate The Bluest Eye by, right? I know, it's like, that's why I can't finish it. I
Listen,
can't like,
I'm still traumatized.
yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. Like, just to flesh out some of these things. So, not to say that, you know, my mom is Piccola or anything like that, but just that image is always the stark image of just like, okay, let's just go and do it, you know, da da da. Like, so that kind of coming from that image.
So why is she drawn to a different scale? Why is she drawn to a different scale?
Because we're bigger than our stories sometimes.
Nice.
Sometimes
Deep.
we are, we're I always try to use this thing, we're giants of our community, we're giants of our society, so we get to move it around and use it however. So a lot of my pieces on the street, it's basically when I do characters, when I do neighborhoods or buildings, I like to inhabit them. I love Lauren S. Harris, but he doesn't have people in his stuff, you know? And yeah, I get it. It doesn't want to like mess it up with like, because you have to do it in scale, right? So like beautiful like slopes that he paints to like, you know, have it. So to fix all that, I'm just gonna make them really big and just paint them actually how they are, you know what I mean? And then how we see it is that we're giants of our communities, so we could kind of like, you know, move a building if we need to move it, and you know what I mean, because we're giants. But at the same time, it's me trying to paint the thing like really perfectly because it's the city, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like we're to show the detail on a character that's next to a place, you have to paint it a little bigger. I don't know if you understand, but
A little
you know what
bit
I mean?
too, because
like,
I think I understand it in your murals, right? And like sometimes, like your figures are huge and they're giants in the landscape, literally, like doing everyday things. And so in this, I'm like, I love that the story is about her identity, how she got her name. And so she's huge in the image, but then everything is rendered flawlessly. Right? So it's not like things are less important. They're not made like less visible at all, you know? And I love that. And I love it in the one behind you too, if you want to talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to exactly talk about the place that I'm slowly forgetting, I think, right? Because it's slowly slipping away, I guess. Some of the other pieces, I just don't paint them right to the edge because it's kind of like, it's like you know, it gets murky as you're
Is that like
trying
the
to
edge of
focus.
your memory?
Like the edge of your memory, because it's
Okay.
just slowly slipping away. Like, oh, I can't wait to go see Inside Out 2. Oh my goodness. It's gonna be the best thing ever. But anyway, so it's kind of like that. Like, part one was just so dope.
It got you. You felt it.
I felt it. I was in my feelings. I was crying when she was crying. I was like, so anyway, so it's kind of the same kind of thing that it's kind of like disappears, and these little guys in your brain are just like, he doesn't need this song anymore, and you like chuck it out, and like I can't remember who like Barrington Levy song is, you know. So it's kind of like that kind of thing, like. So that was happening. So I guess why everything's so precise is that I'm trying to really keep that as like the memory of the thing, you know, instead of it like slipping away slowly, or feeling unfinished, unresolved ideas, and it's like actually tangible to, paintings and work.
So when you paint these recollections, what does it do to your actual memory? Does it rewrite it now?
Yeah, well, it gives you a whole new idea, a whole new feeling of it, Sometimes when you have your favorite song and you just remember it was your favorite song, and now to bring it into 2024, you found an old iPod and you're like, oh, right. Oh, my goodness, the books or whatever. I just found this thing in the books, or it's such a really good... Anyway, so I found it and played it again, and I'm like, I'm not playing this in 2024 because it's going to mess up the memory of, like, you know what I mean? But like, this is me like trying to really define the memory, A lot of them mums like, no, it didn't go like that. That's not how it looked,
Right.
But like, that was a house, that was a really official house, back in the day, I think. So if they lived anywhere and he was this ambassador or whatever, it needs to be a house like that, like. This one's called Jackie, Joe, and Oppenheimer. And this is where the day my mom met Oppenheimer, in this place. And this is how I think of it the whole time. When she tells the story, it's just like he was there, just chilling, waiting to talk to my grandfather, And she rolls up on him with the goat. She had a pet goat, Jackie. And she's like, you could fly a kite? You know how to fly a kite? And he's like, oh, no, I don't, She's like, okay, hold Jackie, come. And she carried him outside and taught him how to fly a kite. And I just thought it was like, and of course, my mind is like illustratively roaming, like, like flying back and forth. So, yeah, this is kind of what I came up for the thing, because, of course, it's just my Auntie Margaret, who is telling the story to my mom, and then my mom is telling the story to me, right? So, like, it's so far removed from exactly what happened, you know what I mean? Like, so to get the story, that it's like back in the day, we used to, at Grenville, at Sheridan College, I don't know if it's still there anymore, but we would like photocopies, yeah. And then photocopies, you know what I mean? And then use that as like the gel medium transfer. So it had this like distorted, I guess distorted stuff was wicked back then, like Ray Gun. Remember Ray Gun, the magazine? Oh, that was like, yeah, it was amazing. I didn't grow up here either, but I found it at college, and like, it's just really good design at the pinnacle of like kind of that rough design. So I'm flying all over the place with stuff. So
no,
just
good.
like reel me back in.
You're good. This is amazing. You're giving the people what they want.
Yeah, it's all good.
But I love the idea that these paintings kind of work against forgetting, but at the same time they're rewriting, right? Like your mom's like, that's not how it went down, and you're like, whatever, that's how it went down in my head, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's this beautiful new world that's been opened up, right? Mm-hmm. Like the painting functions as a portal for your imagination, that informed by your family history. Why do you paint buildings the way you do?
I guess because I haven't before in my whole kind of career, I guess. So when I'm coming back to this idea, I'm trying to do a really good piece of it. So like if anybody asks me right now to do a painting of them, I'm gonna like try my damnedest to do a really good thing, you know what I mean? Because like I think I'm sharing that with that person, So I think I had to like grow as an artist. If you're gonna like do a portrait of someone, you have to like kind of practice and grow and grow and grow. So I'm kind of doing the same thing with like buildings and.
So you're like finessing your style with buildings, and then what happens? Where do you go from there?
And then it'll turn into, the kind of Noah Davis, Francis Bacon kind of, stuff that I'm trying to get to as an actual artist, you know what I mean? So you can go through all these different tunnels of your work, but it's still your work, so.
I really like your buildings and streetscapes just because of how they're rendered so accurately, so faithfully in contrast to your figures, where the proportions are different. And even though the faces are distorted, like you can tell that the energy of the person or the essence of the person is still there. But then you have like scale, angles, perspective are all perfectly there. And I love that contrast. And somehow they work together in a really interesting way.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
I like your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Ramon?
Oh, that was my neighborhood. Okay, so my neighborhood, I used to live in this house over here. So like on the side, that's my house. So I go through all these like, oh, I love this house and how this used here and how they use plastic to da-da-da. But when I live in this house right over here with the veranda and the second bedroom and anyway, so that is the neighborhood that me and Raman used to live in. So like middle class kind of West Indian upbringing family, you know? And then all of a sudden, like what happens in, you know, all teenage years, coming of age kind of stuff, like, you know, I went like Tribe Called Quest and he went like Wu-Tang. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I understand him. I understand him
you
so
know
hard.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like that kind of thing. Not technically those albums, more like Buju, you know? And I just went like Tribe. So he would disappear for months on end. Where he gone? He gone mountain, he gone hills. So when there's a Rasta man back home, sometimes the city can't hold you. You have to go and do your thing and find your destiny, you know? So I think that's, you know, what he was, you know, trying to do. So I always trying to, you know, mentally think of like, you know, that path that my friend took, you know, and where is he now and how is he building a life around himself, and you know what I mean?
So why does that particular narrative linger? Is it because it was an option for you?
Yeah, it's one of my memories in a way, you know. I was doing all the memories of my parents, mother, other memories of mine through my parents, through parenting, through protection, you know, that kind of thing. And it's all these memories that, you know, coming up in my life right now because you say man don't have biological clock, but I feel man have biological clock sometimes. Anyway, so that feeling of like children and home and family is starting to like root its ugly little head into my work, and which is good. So I have to, you know, kind of work it out, you know. If it's coming up, you got to work it out, and then kind of put it into these things that, you know, I'm doing.
So it's also about, like, talk about your work and desire. Like, what do you desire that you're working through? What do you want that you're working through? I mean, earlier you had mentioned that you were trying not to forget, but what else are you trying to do?
I'm not trying to forget, and I guess in an egotistical way, I'm not trying to let anyone forget me, right? Which is, don't want to be forgotten, which is, it's like but I think that's, yeah, so egotistical and icky and like that. But I've heard this thing that like, you know, 100 years from now, y'all ain't gonna see nobody and nobody gonna know you, you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna forget, everybody's gonna forget you're alive. And so don't worry about these kind of things now. Don't worry about like, you know, problems you have now and things you don't have. Like the thing that you're striving to get so hard right now, it's gonna be like resold and disintegrated in 100 years, you know? And like, and that kind of made me sad in a way, like they're never gonna remember your pieces and stuff. And I'm like, yes, no, that's the only thing that they're gonna know, you know what I mean, kind of way. But it's all good if it doesn't. It's cool, you know. Like at least like we're all here to like experience it and then move on, and we all forget about crisscross, you know. And now,
No, we didn't. We did not forget about crisscross. Some of us did not.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of feeling of just like.
So,
I ran down the bus and I rush, you know,
the
like
bus.
Anyway, so.
So I actually don't think it's an egotistical thing to work against oblivion, to work against not existing anymore, because it kind of like, what's the point of now? Like, what's the point of any, I'm sorry to be melodramatic, but what's the point of anything if there isn't any kind of hope for remembrance or life after, you know, that you don't achieve something or that you don't leave a trace or that everything you did wasn't worth remembering? That's tragic, and I'm sorry, y'all, to be a downer, but so I don't actually think it's egotistical.
I don't know. Just gotta try really hard to not be Horace Pippin. Horace Pippin? Anybody? Horace Pippin.
Go for it.
Nope. Nope. But yeah, they just found him in like Philly, and this like person that like has all these pieces. So this guy has all these pieces, and now he's leaving. So they want to donate all the work to the Philadelphia Art Museum or something like that. So basically, all his stuff open so people can go and see it. And there's one artist in there, Horace Pippin. Crazy, just like I just like it, but nobody talked about it, or it didn't resound as much as it did, like it should have, like, or yeah, stuff like that. And I find it really sad in some situations, but I don't know, like what is the difference? I guess like I watch too many documentaries, but like what's the like how. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to kind of shift tacks right now and ask a question that the people want.
Okay.
What does it feel like to transition from graffiti and murals into doing this kind of work? Like, how do you feel about this evolution of who you are as an artist?
I'm not done with the street stuff.
Okay, well, thank you for reassuring us.
I'm bombing. Oh, yeah, I'm not done getting up.
Are you a big age?
They?
Are you a big age? I mean, because there's it's very physical. Right?
Yeah. My dad had knee surgery, and that just looks so insane. And that's just from, every July, August, he's like, okay, come, stick the thing here, put this here, take the sequence and put it so, bring the diamond, because he makes costumes, right? So he's always like doing this, like he's like stooping down, or he's on like this. So his knee's completely shot, So yeah, it's the same thing with me on like a ladder, or a thing. Like, so I'm aware of that, So yeah, and then transitioning from play to like actually seriousness, I'm not saying the street stuff is play, but like again with the resounding and living forward. Most of the pieces on the street get primed, Most of the stuff, like, there were really wicked illustrators, sign painters back in the day from Toronto, and I don't see none of them now, So, like, that kind of, like, scares me a little bit. But, hey, that's the evolution of work on the street. So, it's, a little bit of, like, hopefully these are going to exist in homes and stuff around Toronto. Yeah, for years to come, hopefully. It'll be good.
I'm going to open it up to questions now, if anybody has anything. What up, Tony?
Yeah, I have two questions. First question for you is, you mentioned a few, but one of them is like, what sort of references are you using to access your memories or recreate your memories?
Mm-hmm.
The first question. Mm-hmm. And like, maybe what's your favorite way to do that?
Yeah.
And then the second question is, are you interested in being remembered in other ways outside of your work?
Well, first, I'd like to go hang out with Mary and just chill, have a drink, and go find all that stuff in St. Vincent, because a lot of this stuff is referenced from St. Vincent, right? So, the whole time, that's the good part, getting all the good, juicy research, basically, taking photos of angles you try to paint, you can't get it, you know what I mean? Or like actually sitting there and like doing the work. A lot of this stuff right here is work that like right in front of me, not from reference, you know. So love getting stuff like that. What was the other part of it? Sorry.
Second question was just like, are you interested in being remembered
Yes.
in other ways?
In other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna. I don't have anything else that I do and I like, you know. I guess when I have kids, I would like to be seen and remembered really well in their eyes. But for art, I guess, or for, you know, the guy that could really make up a good story at bedtime or something, you know what I mean? But like, other than that, I don't think it has come to me yet. You know what I mean? To you know, that one thing that I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be a coach and do this really well. You know what I mean? I wish at some point, but it hasn't hit me yet. So, yeah. No problem. Yes.
So when I think of memory, so memory, particularly for people like us, whose stories are not the dominant narrative.
Normally the narrative. Yeah.
Not the
kind of
dominant.
like not mainstream, right?
Yeah.
And so memory then belongs to the collective as much as it belongs to the individual, right?
Yeah.
So what role do you think you play, you know, in terms of the person who records visually the
Yeah.
memories of the group,
Yeah.
right? How do you see yourself as an artist in terms of being and almost like a memory recorder
Yeah. Exactly.
for whether it's Black folk or, you know, folks in your community, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I battle that sometimes. Like you answered it exactly there. But then there's the other side of like, come to mind, let me just paint something I want to paint. You know what I mean? Like the other day, I finished this whole show and it was done. It's all good, and I get an ice cap and I head into the alleys, and I'm just like, okay. I didn't even go home. I just bought extra cans, and I was like, okay, I have a black can and I have like a violet. Like, what can I, you know? And I just wanted to go and paint like a dude eating a goat from its stomach and how that would look. You know what I mean? Like, no connotation, just how it looks, and like, can I do it still? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But I battle that, and then I'm like, we're in public, and I can't just. There's so many more pressing things right now that I should be talking about if I have this big space to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, why not, you know, talk about all the little children dying in Palestine? You know what I mean? Like, why not, like, shed some light on that? Because people don't see it. They no, and then they walk out of their house and like, you know, and yeah, put it in their view. Just make them remember it again. It's not on your phone, but it's right there. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So I think it's kind of like, I have these duties, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, but then sometimes I just like, just wanna paint like a lake and a person in the lake, you know? Like, I don't know. So yeah, that's the battle on top of the, you know, the duty of the thing. Like, I'm like, oh, my spidey sense is tingling right now. I gotta go and do this. I'm not gonna chill, you know what I mean? Like Superman, oh, I hear that. Like, I'm not relating myself to Superman and those cats. But like, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, that's the thing. You have to be able to say something or do it, you know. So.
I have a question that I don't think I've ever asked you before.
Yeah.
But who do you paint for?
Who do I paint for?
Yeah.
I used to paint for my diary, but I paint for like, I paint for people on the street, I guess, you know, when it comes to like right on the street, you know. But when I'm under a bridge or something, painting with the homies, I like to paint my name looking like gummy bears in a plastic bag. And that, you know, like, that just brings me so much joy.
So you paint for yourself?
And that's me painting for myself, because, you know, that kind of thing. But at the same time, you know, if I know about, like, you know, some statistic that I could flip in a painting that, like, and usually when you're on the street, you're collaborating with another artist, you know? So, and, you know, sometimes that artist has a point, and I have to say something, and and then I go along with that, so it's kind of like, painting for my friends like that, and then we're painting for people on the street, so shout out to Gazelle helping me on that last production.
Kemba.
I really appreciate what you shared around memory, home, and placemaking. And I think for many Black folks, this impacts how we decolonize. And I'm wondering if, and because we're also saturated in colonization, when you did your residency at Wild Seed, what did you have to contend with? Was that the first time you really thought about what your work means to decolonize? Mm-hmm. And what were you like wrestling with emotionally?
I do graph. I do hard graph, right? There's a lot of people that do graph. Like, I'm just saying, like, a lot of my friends that paint graph, there's like 5 Black people in the scene to count on one hand, you know what I mean? That like really, really paint graph. Not like, oh, I'm going on the street and I'm gonna paint a thing and we're done for the afternoon, you know what I mean? Like, I come from like hard bombers, so a lot of that stuff, like, it's like middle class white Canada. So a lot of those things, like, as I don't think I was painting for them, I don't think I was like trying to educate them on any kind of thing, in a sense. But it's more like when I come to now to understand that, yeah, you have like this thing, people are watching, don't use it for, stupidness, kind of thing. And so as he showed me, like, you have this thing, dude, like, there's vast other people, organizations, spots that you could talk about and shed light on, you know what I mean? It's up to educating yourself, to know, what things you choose to talk about, and shed light on, and hopefully educate others with your visualness, Back in the day, it was just like Wild Styles and Style Wars and, you know what I mean? Like graffiti, documentary, magazines, and like just so, into that. There was, hip hop and all that stuff, but it was more, guided by, my peers, and I would find the roots, and I would find like Black Star, but yeah, the dude that I was gonna go bomb with that night was really not down with those albums, you know what I mean? So it's just like you're, kind of like out there on your own. But yeah, it's like just two things. I put a cup in a cup a second ago, and I was like fitting into two cultures fitting in. That's basically kind of what it is, And don't get me wrong, I love them both, and I wish I could like merge them in that sense that you're saying, how, the characters and then the buildings,
You don't think you're doing that?
Not as well as Pharrell, but sorry.
Okay. There's a lovely number of young people here, so I want to see if any of the young folk have any questions. Do you have a question?
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Have you always wanted to become an artist?
Yes, since that math test in grade 8, I was like, nope, becoming an artist for sure, hook, crook, or cranny.
And the second one is, have you ever done anything hard to become an artist?
Hard. Have done anything hard to become an artist? Ooh. Yeah. All the time, just in a general way, all the time. And you get through it and you learn the lesson. So next time you could do it better, you know? So, hard thing to become an artist. I thought I wanted to be an animator. Oh Lord, that is so hard. You literally drawing 24 drawings for 1 second. So this, I just had to do 24 drawings. What? Nobody told me that, but I'm sitting there in the class right now, like doing it, you know. So that was very hard in a sense. But yeah, if you're in any sort of predicament like that, try to push through, you know.